Emergency. An emergency is a situation that poses an immediate risk to health, life, property, or environment. Most emergencies require urgent intervention to prevent a worsening of the situation. Also, in some situations, mitigation may not be possible, and agencies may only be able to offer palliative care for the aftermath. While some emergencies are self-evident, such as a natural disaster that threatens many lives, many smaller incidents require that an observer or affected party decide whether it qualifies as an emergency. The precise definition of an emergency, the agencies involved, and the procedures used vary by jurisdiction, and this is usually set by the government whose agency emergency services are responsible for emergency planning and management. An incident to be emergency conforms to one or more of the following if it poses an immediate threat to life, health, property, or environment, has already caused loss of life, health, detriments, property damage or environmental damage, has a high probability of escalating to cause immediate danger to life, health, property, or environment. Many emergencies cause an immediate danger to the life of people involved. This can range from emergencies affecting a single person, such as the entire range of medical emergencies, including heart attacks, strokes, cardiac arrest, and trauma, to incidents that affect large numbers of people, such as a natural disaster, including tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, mudslides, and outbreak of disease such as cholera, Ebola, and malaria. Most agencies consider this the highest property and priority emergency, which follows the general school of thought that nothing is more important than human life. Some emergencies do not immediately and endanger life, health, or property, but do affect the natural environment that creatures living within it. Not all agencies consider this a genuine emergencies, but it can have far-reaching effects on animals and the long-term condition of the land. Examples would include forest fires and marine oil spills. Agencies across the world have different systems for classifying incidents, but all of them serve to help them allocate finite research by prioritizing between different emergencies. Many agencies assign a sub-classification to the emergency, prioritizing incidents that have the most potential for risk to life, health, or property in that order. For instance, many ambulance services use a system called the Advanced Medical Priority Dispatch System (MPDC) or a similar solution. The Medical Priority Dispatch System (MPDS), sometimes referred to as the Advanced Medical Priority Dispatch Systems (MPDS), is a unified system used to dispatch a priority aid to medical emergencies, including systematized color interrogation and pre-arrival instruction. Priority Dispatch Corporation is licensed to design and publish NPDs and its various products with research separated by the International Academy of Emergency Medical Dispatch IM IAEMD Priority Dispatch Corporation in conjunction with the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch have also produced a similar system for Police Priority Dispatch System (PPDS), and Fire Priority Dispatch System (FPDS). MPDs was developed by Jeff Clausen from 1976 to 1979 when we worked as an emergency medical technician and dispatcher prior to medical school. He designed a set of standardized protocols to triage patients via the telephone and thus improve the emergency response system. Protocols were first alphabetized by chief complaint that included key questions to ask to the caller, pre-arrival instruction and dispatch priorities. After many revisions, these simple cards have evolved into MPDS. MPDC today still starts with dispatcher asking the caller key questions. These questions allow the dispatchers to categorize the call by chief complaint and set a determinate level ranging from A minor to E immediately life threatening, relating to the severity of the patient's condition. The system also uses determinate O, which may be a referral to another service or other situations that may not actually require an ambulance response. Another subcategory code is used to future categorize the patients. The system is often used in the form of software system called ProQRA, which is also produced by Priority Dispatch Corp. Instruction to the caller, as well as training emergency calls and PDC, also provides instruction for the dispatcher to give to the caller whilst assistance is in route. This post-dispatch and pre-arrival instruction are intended both to keep the caller and the patient safe, but also, where necessary, to turn the caller into the first responder by giving them potential life-saving instruction. They include cardiopulmonary searching for adults, children, babies, and newborns, the use of a defibrillator, the use of Heimlich maneuver to clear the airway of a choking patient. Delivery of baby, extinguishing the flames for a person on fire, escaping from a sinking vessel, bleeding control, flushing of chemical contamination, cooling of burns, administration of epinephrine adrenaline auto-injectors, and administration of naloxone. Another system for prioritizing medical calls is known as Emergency Medical Dispatch (EMD). Jurisdictions that use EMD typical as in code of Alpha, low priority, Bravo, medium priority, Charlie required advanced life support, Delta high priority requiring advanced life support, or Echo maximum possible priority age. Witnessed cardiac arrest to each inbound request for service. These codes are then used to determine the appropriate level response. Other systems, especially as regards major incidents, use objective measures to direct resource to such systems as Chat and ETRAN, which are both mnemonics to help emergency service staff classify incidents and direct resource. Each of these acronyms helps ascertain the number of casualties, usually including the number of deaths and number of non-injured people involved, how the incident has occurred, and what emergency services are required. Shellet was a mnemonic indication protocol used by UK emergency service to report situations which they may be faced with, especially as it relates to major incidents. Since 2013, the UK emergency services have been using new doctrine developed by the Joint Emergency Services interoperability principles, which sets out the mnemonic pattern as an aid to communication information from the incident scenes. Shellet and Methane dictate the form in which the receiving control station should get information from the first person officer on scene. In some jurisdictions, the alternative A10 may be used. Chalet stands for casualties, approximate numbers of dead, injured and uninjured, hazard, present and potential access, best access routes for emergency wish lists, boat lengths to avoid etc. Location, the precise location of the incident, emergency service radio of sense, and what other required type of incident, including details of numbers of wishlist building involved. Exact location, the precise location of the incident, type, the nature of the incident, including how many wishlists, buildings, and so on are involved, hazards, both present and potential, access, best route for emergency service to access the site, or obstruction and bottlenecks to avoid, numbers of casualties, dead and injured on scene, emergency service, which service are already on scene and which others are required. In the event of this being used for a major incident, the reporting first of on scene officer would not usually get involved with rescue work, but act as a coordinator on scene for arriving emergency wishlist. This may be achieved by the first visually on scene leaving its light by running rails. All other turn theirs often on arrival to make identifying the incident officer easier. Most developed countries have a number of emergency services operating within them, whose purpose is to provide assistance in dealing with any emergency. They are often government-operated, paid for from tax revenue as a public service, but in some cases they may be private campaigns responding to emergencies. In return for payment, or they may be voluntary organizations providing the assistance from funds raised from donation. Most developed countries operate three core emergency services. Police handle mainly crime-related emergencies. Fire handle fire-related emergencies and usually possess secondary research duties. Medical handle medical-related emergencies. There may also be a number of specialized emergency services, which may be a part of on one of the core agencies, or maybe separate entities who assist in the main agencies. This can include services such as a bomb disposal, search and research, and hazardous material operation. Most countries have an emergency telephone number, also known as the universal emergency number, which can be used to summon the emergency service to any incident. This number varies from country to country and in some cases by region within a country, but in most cases they are in a short number format such as 911 United States and many parts of Canada, 999 United Kingdom, 112 Europe, and 111 Australia. The majority of mobile phones also deal the emergency services, even if the phone keyboard is located or if the phone has an expired or missing SIM card. Also, the provision of these services varies by country and network. In addition to those services provided specifically for emergencies, there may be a number of agencies who provide an emergency services as an incidental part of their normal day job provision. These can include public utility works, such as provision of electricity or gas who may be required to respond quickly, as both utilities have a large potential to cause danger to life, health, and property of if there is an infrastructural failure. The key principle taught in almost all systems is that there is research, be they a lay person or a professional, should assess the situation for dangers. The reason that an assessment for danger is given such a high priority is that it is core to emergency management that research do not become secondary victims of any incident as these creators. Future emergencies that must be dealt with. A typical assessment for dangers would involve observation of the surroundings, starting with the cause of the incident, of a failing object, and expanding outwards to include any situation hazards, as fast-moving traffic and history or secondary information given by witnesses, bystanders, or the emergency service, an attacker still waiting nearby. Once a primary danger assessment has been complete, this should not end the system of checking for danger, but should inform all other parts of the processes. If at any time the risk from any hazard poses a significant danger as a factor of likelihood and seriousness to the rescue, They should consider whether they should approach the sense or leave the sense if appropriated. There are many emergency services protocols that apply in an emergency, which usually start with planning before an emergency occurs. The planning phase starts at preparedness, where the agencies decide how to respond to a given incident or set of circumstances. This should ideally include lines of command and control and division of activities between agencies. This avoids potential negative situations such as the three separated agencies all starting on an official emergency shelter for victims of a disaster. Following an emergency occurring, the agencies then move to response phase, where they execute their plans and may end up improvising some areas of their response due to gaps in their planning files, which are inevitable due to the individual nature of most incidents. Agencies may then be involved in a recovery following the incident, where they assist in the clear up from the incident or help the people involved overcome their mental trauma. The final phase in the cycle is mitigation, which involves taking steps to ensure no occurrence is possible or putting additional plans in place to ensure less damage is done. This should feed back into the preparedness stage with update plans in place to deal with future emergencies, thus completing the cycle. In the event of major incidents such as civil unrest or major disaster, many governments maintain the right to declare a state of emergency, which gives them extensive powers over the daily lives of the citizen, and many include temporary curtailment on certain civil rights, including the right to trial, for instance, to discharges losing of an evacuated area should site police, however, unlikely to occur, may be published. Thanks for your attention. Goodbye.